Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And oh, am I delighted. Oh, is it a joy to hear the voice and the singing of this next person that we will be talking to in the neighborhood. She is a Tony winner. Let me just give you some of her credits. Since making her Broadway debut in Barnum and her off-Broadway debut in the William Finn musical Romance in Hard Times, listen to these credits. She played Effie in Dreamgirls, Grisabella in Cats, Mama Morton in Chicago, Miss Jones in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. She's a Tony nominee for the musical Fela and a Tony winner for The Life. Because if you know that song, I'm getting too old for the oldest, but that's her. She sang that. She originated that in the Cy Coleman musical. So she was the very first performer in the Green Room 42 cabaret space, and she's going to be back there in just a couple of weeks. And she has a new solo album called Get Yourself Some Happy. We are so happy to have with us LILLIAS WHITE. Shalom, LILLIAS. Hello.
Shalom, shalom, peace and love, everybody. Hi.
Peace and love to you too. How are you? You're looking fantastic. How are you doing post-pandemic? How you feeling?
Well, the pandemic is not really over, but I'm doing fine, and I'm healthy, and I'm strong, and I'm excited about all the good things that are happening with this album. It's been a long time coming, and finally, it's here. As in a few days, actually, 23rd is when it officially drops.
Right.
And, so it's all good. I'm good.
You're sort of picking and freezing. I know you're blessed. I know we're good. You're frozen at the moment. This is why I'm waiting. And oh, now you're back. Welcome back, Shalom. So, the internet during the. Let me ask. So, this album is based on someone that you worked with for like 30 years. Unfortunately, they passed away fairly recently. But why don't you explain even more? Yes, it's an album all about happy songs, but it has to do with a musical director that you were with for a very long time. So tell us a bit more.
Yes. My musical director, brother from another mother, partner in crime, his name is Timothy Graffenreid. And Timothy wrote the original dance music for The Wiz that was on Broadway. Timothy and I created many cabaret shows together, and we were very, very happy and successful doing that. And Joshua Sherman and I have been friends for over 20 years as well. So Joshua and I have been talking about doing a solo album for years. And so finally, he's got a beautiful new recording studio up in East Arlington, Vermont. It's called the Old Mill Road Studio. It's absolutely gorgeous. When you stand in the booth, there's the water, the river is flowing. It's just really gorgeous and a beautiful space and wonderful state-of-the-art equipment, along with the great Grammy Award-winning engineer, Ben Arundel. So Timothy made a list, I made a list, and Josh made a list of songs that we would like to have recorded. And we put the list together. Timothy worked on it. He did the arrangements along with Josh, and I put my 2 cents in wherever I could. And so we put this album together, and it's called Get Yourself Some Happy. And this was before the pandemic, before there was any inkling of the pandemic. So this was just a bunch of songs that we wanted to give to the people. So that's where the idea came from, and that's what we did.
Sounds delightful. So among the songs on there, you actually do, I think, Come On, Hallelujah, Come On, Get Happy. And what are some of these songs on this record?
You make me so very, very happy is one of them. You make me so very happy. We have Happy Together.
Oh, the Turtle song, yeah.
Yes, we have You're My Best Friend. We have Brand New Me. And what do we come on? Get happy, put on a happy face. It's a
So
lot. So if you go to the website,
right,
if you go to LILLIASWHITE.com, yeah, you can pre-order it, and then you'll find out how many wonderful songs are on the CD.
LILLIASWHITE.com. There's all these L's in there. You gotta be careful. LILLIAS White.com is the place, and you can get it on CD. You can also order digitally, and you say, like, for the holidays, you'll even put out a vinyl thingy. Is this true?
Yes, we're working on that.
Oh, my record albums come, everything comes back after a while.
I'm happy for it. I love playing records.
Now, speaking of things coming back, did you, during the pandemic, did you do a lot of Zoom theater? Did you do shows in places that weren't so distancing, masked, and closed? How did you spend a year and a half?
I did a lot of work. I did some Zoom performances. I did a very well directed show with a no audience, something out in Long Island. I did something downtown. I did a lot of work, and I've been working on a Sarah Vaughan project as well. So that's in the works, and I've been working on that since
Yeah,
since out of lockdown.
I think I read that you're doing, while you were working on this other album, you're already in the stages of doing a Sarah Vaughan. What was it, Miss Diva or Miss something? What is it called? Divine Sass.
This album in 2019. We did in 2019. So that was this album was already in the can. The project I was working on during the pandemic has been the Sarah Vaughan project.
Oh, I did not realize that. Okay, so and that's called, it was Divine Sass, or at least that's the working title so far in terms of the CD.
Right. That's it.
I think you've been asked before of the difference between playing, quote, characters or people who are real people like Sarah Vaughan versus just being, Lillias White. How do you make that differentiation? Do you stop being Lillias when you're being Sarah?
Well, it's about 50-50. Anytime you're playing a role, it's always some of you in there to make the engine go. But I like to do research on people. I got to play Dinah Washington, and I did some research on her, and I kind of wanted to just vibe her out and see what kind of person she was, and during the era that she lived. She went through a lot of changes in terms of being a Black woman in the music industry and taking charge of her own affairs. So I put myself in her shoes, so to speak, and so the people who knew her came and saw the show, and they said, "Wow, that was her." So I work to do that, but you always have some of yourself in that character, in that person, if it's a real person or if it's a character that's been created for you or created. There's always some of you in there. That's what makes it go.
Now, speaking of being a Black woman in the industry, in performing, in show business, I personally am a Black woman in show business. I know I don't look it, but have you found it different, better, the same over, say, the past 2 years? When everybody's been so-called, more conscious and more woke and trying to change things than it's been in your first 40, 50, so on years you doing the business?
I think there's room for improvement. And I think that because of the events of the past year, that people are making an effort to make some changes that will encourage more equity and more inclusion and different points of view. So I think that things are changing, but we have work to do as a union, as a nation. We have work to do.
Can I ask, did you ever experience any direct discrimination, like where you could, not just the subtle underpinning of, well, they're not going to hire me anyway because, but like anything that you can, where you were really mistreated and you knew
Sure.
it was because of who you are?
Oh, you have. I mean, starting in junior high school.
For example?
I had a teacher named Miss Jacobson who I I helped me with the audition because I'd never auditioned for anything before. And she told me quite point blank, that that school was not for me. So yes, I've had those instances. I've had instances of castmates on Broadway say derogatory things.
Oh my
Uh,
God. But
yeah.
not derogatory, like trying to help you or saying, oh, you hit a flat note, but
No, no,
something.
no, not that kind of thing. Something that's directly related to my race, to
Oh my
race
God.
specifically.
Do you want to call them out now and say so and so said something, or no? Do you,
I've already called her out. I don't have to do that.
oh my God. All right.
Yeah, I've done that publicly already, so I don't need to go and do that again. But there are people who come from certain backgrounds, and they are taught. You have to be taught to hate people.
Carefully taught, as the
You have
song
to be
goes.
carefully taught, and that's a real thing. So there are people who are taught that if someone is different from them in any way, that they are not acceptable. So those kind of people, I have to just ignore them, or if they really get on my nerve, they get cussed out, and then I leave them alone. Um, but I think that this next generation is seeing to it that things are going to be different. I think that they're more open to change. I think they're more open to people who are different, to transgender people, to Black people, to Asian people. So, this generation, even if they're taught, not to be accepting, I think that the events of the past year have opened a lot of eyes, particularly for young people, and that they're looking at the world and they're seeing that Black people have not been telling lies all this time when we say we are discriminated against or we're singled out and we're killed more frequently. It's a real thing, and now the whole world knows it.
Now, speaking of young people, on a much more happy kind of a note, when you were a young people yourself, your grandma and your aunt were both tremendously encouraging in terms of getting you up there and having you strut your stuff, as it were. This is so. Tell some stories about this when you're unfrozen. Uh-oh, we've lost you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're
Oh
back.
boy, I'm
Shalom,
right
welcome
here.
back. Did you get the
Okay.
question? Good. The question was about your grandma and your
Yes. Yes. Mhm. Yes. My grandmother used to have big dinners every Sunday. It was mandatory attendance, and my grandfather used to have to do the dishes. That was his job. So he'd clear the table, and my grandmother would put me up on the dining room table, and I'd sing and dance for my family. And my aunt Lillias was a dancer with the June Taylor Dance Company that was on the Jackie Gleason show. So my aunt Lillias saw, and my aunts and uncles and my grandmother, they saw this gift, and so they would encourage me. And my aunt would dress me up in crinoline dresses and the little socks with the lace around them and the patent leather shoes. And I would do my thing. And, I would do Shirley Temple, only better. Uh, and, my aunts and uncles were young adults at the time. So I heard a lot of music growing up. There was always music going on. I had an uncle who painted, he did murals and he did portraits. And I had an aunt who did wood cuttings. And I had these cousins who played the piano. And my aunt played the piano a little bit. So there was always music around. My mother would take us to Radio City Music Hall twice a year, every year, to see the Christmas show and the Easter show. And my mother would buy me show tune albums. And so I memorized all the show tune albums, every word, every part. And she'd give me money for 45s when I got, to be a teenager. So I had stacks of 45s, and I'd sing in my living room with my hairbrush or my spoon in the mirror. I had another aunt who made wigs. And so I had all these wigs, and I'd be on stage in my living room. So that's how I started. And my family has always encouraged me and pushed me. And and said, you know, at a girl, go do it. So I've been blessed that way.
And this has actually been a tremendous controversy.
They still do.
Well, which of these is better to sing
Those
into?
that are left are still.
Sorry, we have a frozen situation, but which there have been discourses and controversies about this, and blood has been shed. But which is better to sing into? A spoon
Are we
or a
stuck?
brush? That joke is just
Okay,
going to
I
die
didn't hear
like the
a lot
vine.
of what you said.
The joke, it was just gonna, I was gonna say which is better, the spoon or the hairbrush, but it completely got lost in the comedy right there. I'll go. Did you hear the no spoon or hairbrush? All right. Anywho, moving forward. So, when you were interviewed a few years ago, you mentioned that among the roles you played so many roles, but among those you haven't yet played were Mame, Mama Rose,
Yeah.
and there was another one too,
Yeah.
Miss Hannigan and Annie. Have you had a chance to do either of those three since then?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Are there any added to that list?
Well, what I would like to add to that list is I would like to explore brand new roles that are created for me specifically. And I mean, that's to me the ultimate gift is to have a playwright and a composer write something that's funny and brilliant and poignant and moving and say, this is who I want to play this role, LILLIAS WHITE in this role, singing these songs and doing this. So that's my ultimate, but that's what I love the best. And that's what I loved about working with Cy Coleman was that he called me and said, we have a role for you. We're making a role for you in this show. And that's what he did.
And that was the life. That
and
was.
that was the life. Yeah.
Do you have any Cy Coleman stories? Any anecdotes? Any fun things about him?
Oh, Cy was a great entertainer. He was funny. He was charming. He loved the ladies. He loved good food and good wine. And he liked having people around him who were cheerful and energetic. Um, he he was my buddy. He was my friend, and my family loved him. I don't know what to say. He was a great guy to me. Everybody has their own opinion about, you know, whoever they know or whoever they've met or worked with. But I've been really lucky for me.
Now, speaking of
And there.
Sorry, we're catching up here. But speaking of roles that are kind of written though with you in mind, is anything happening with Gotta Dance? This was a musical that was being geared for Broadway a couple of years ago. You've done workshops. You did. Is anything happening with Gotta Dance?
Right now, it's being worked out. Right now, I think it's percolating.
Okay. Is anything else percolating,
it's percolating
that you can talk about that you're involved in?
Yeah, but I can't talk about it because it's not signed yet. But yes, there are good things on the horizon.
Good things,
and especially this album.
Well, yes, this album, which we want to remind people, is called Get Yourself Some Happy. And it's just released on Old Mill Road Records. Available, by the way, you can find out more about it at LILLIASWhite.com. You're also going to want to go see her at the Green Room 42. She was the first person to play there. She was also the first person to play there after the pandemic was over. And now she's coming back August 12th through the 14th. But we have a few more minutes with you, I hope, Liz, especially since we lost some with this stupid internet that we have here. So a couple more questions with the delightful LILLIAS WHITE. Let me ask you, you were fairly open in your dislike of our previous president and his administration and the way America was at that time. We're now 6 months in or so, 7, into a new... Do you feel things are different? Do you feel that they're better in some ways?
I think that the previous administration really ripped the scabs off of the wounds of this country, and the president that we have now is trying hard to heal us. Things are more blatant than they have been in a long time. And I think that the people who we know are trying to destroy the country out in the open so that we can make an educated and conscious decision about how we're going to live in this country. We're going to either live together or it's going to be a lot of turmoil and problems. So what's happening to the planet, and the war on poverty needs to be stepped up. It doesn't make sense for people not to have enough food to eat and no place to live. It doesn't make sense to me in a country this vast and this rich. So I think that President Biden is definitely headed in the right direction in trying to heal us and make the roads safer and build the bridges up and get the guns off the streets. But he's got a hell of a job to do.
Now, speaking of doing a job, when you do a job on a song, you have called that LILLIASizing it. So, can you explain in your own words, I don't know if you can even explain it, but what is it to LILLIAsize a song?
Well, it's to just give it my own interpretation is basically what it is. And Timothy Graffenreid and I were really famous for doing this. We would take a song like Janice Ian's At 17, and we did a rendition of it that nobody's heard before or since. It involved background singers, and it involved, sectioning the song out and making it more, because I like words. I like songs that have great lyrics. So a song like At 17 has great lyrics, and it makes you think about a time when you were 17 and what was going on. And so, yes, I LILLIasize songs by making them my own. I interpret them the way I feel them, the way the lyrics move me, and the rhythm and the music move me. So that's LILLIasizing. And it may take a fast song and make it slow, or we may take a slow song and make it fast, and we'd be LILLIasizing it.
Now, speaking of being moved by music, you told a story of like your favorite fan moment, where fans approached you when they're coming out of a musical that you were in, and the woman was sobbing and crying, but it's not a show you would expect that someone would be coming out weeping. Can you tell the story there?
That was when I was doing How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and the number that I had at 11 o'clock part of the show was the Brotherhood of Man, and it's a rap. So this lady was standing at the stage door that evening when I came out, and she was weeping. And so, I kind of looked around and I said, "Are you okay?" Because we are in Times Square, and and lots of things could happen. But she said that she was at the show and she was crying because of what it made her feel like, as she was witnessing this number, this Brotherhood of Man, and the scatting and the dancing and the jumping around, and so it moved her. It moved her, and my Aunt Lilias used to come and see me all the time, and she would cry. No matter what the show was, she would cry. And I'd say, "I don't know why you're crying." And she said, "Oh, baby, you sound so beautiful. And I just remember when you were that baby girl on the table, and look at you now." And so there's something, I think, yes, in my voice, in the way that I sound, that moves people that way. And it makes them full. You get full of spirit, full of feeling. And that's my gig. That's my job. So
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, people, believe me, people tell me I'm full of something else. You don't want to know. But one more question for you, Lillias White, is there a song or a performance that does the same for you? like something that you put on the record or whatever, and or you think back to seeing in the theater, and you get all like that?
Ah, yes. When I went to see Lena Horne, the lady in her music, she was absolutely stunning. And when she sang, oh, when
There it
she
is.
sang, "If You Believe," look, I'm getting full just thinking about it, that she sang that song that went through me and it spoke to me. And I felt as if she was singing directly to me and talking directly to my heart, and that she knew everything that was going on in my life at that time, and that she was saying, believe in yourself right from the start. Believe in the magic that's inside your heart. Oh,
Well, you
Lena
will.
Horne.
You know, people are saying that. How you feel about Lena Horne is how a lot of people feel about LILLIAS WHITE when you sing, and when they will hear you urging them to get happy and to be happy by listening to your brand new album. Get yourself some happy by seeing you at Green Room 42, August 12th through the 14th in New York City, and then just discovering all that you have to offer by
I
going
think
to
13, 14, 15. Let's
Oh,
make
it's for
sure.
the 15th. Oh, they added a date. So it says she's. Oh, check. Just make sure. But either way, you'll have to see her several times.
Just go to the Green Room 42. Get your tickets now.
Yes, right now. Go see her. When
So you can come see me and get yourself some happy.
I couldn't be happier talking to the delightful LILLIAS WHITE. Thank you so much for being with us in the neighborhood, and shalom and much success to you.
Shalom. And thank you so much, Rabbi. Thank you for your blessing.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.